Hey guys, this is going to be a quick unscripted video. I just want to talk a little bit about the Sea of Thieves closed beta. Now if you don't know what Sea of Thieves is, it's a open world pirate game by Rare, exclusive for the Xbox One and the PC. Now when this game was first shown off at E3, I thought to myself, wow, this is going to be a amazing open world game with, you know, huge crews, pirates, lots of role playing, lots of things to do. But the more I've played through the alpha and the closed beta, it just doesn't seem like that at all. It seems more like barely anything, to be honest. Like there's almost nothing of substance to do. There's no end game. There's no real reward for doing any of the quests or getting the treasures. It just seems like you're going through the motions of finding a map, finding the island, finding the treasure, bringing the treasure back to the outpost, and rinse and repeat. It's the same thing, different island, barely any challenge. Now I thought the challenge would come from racing other crews, racing other players to these treasures. I assumed that multiple crews would have the same map and would have to contest a large treasure, and you would have to fight over it. But that's just really not the case. Every crew has different independent voyages. They're basically, the same thing as quests. I'll call them quests. And these quests basically require you to go to one island, sometimes two, find the X on the map, dig up the treasure, and bring it back. Rarely does any other crew intersect with what you're doing. Usually they'll be somewhere completely different. Sometimes you'll just coincidentally have to sail by another crew to get to your island, and they're going to a completely different island, and there's really no point in fighting each other. They're not gonna actively fight you. You're not gonna actively fight them because they have treasure, you have treasure, and you both don't want to lose it. The reward for stealing their treasure is really nothing other than getting their treasure. There's no point in fighting them because you can't capture them, you can't recruit them to your own ship. There really is no point in engaging other players if you're lucky enough to even find another player. And that's the next problem with this game, because I remember seeing somewhere, I don't know where it is now, but I remember seeing somewhere that it was a game where you could play with 1 to 100 other players, and that was, a really cool concept. I figured in this world you would be seeing tons of ships, and you would have to engage, fight, make alliances with other ships. But in this closed beta I was in, now it could be because there's not many people playing it right now, but in this game I was in for 3 hours, I didn't find, we only found 2 crews. One was a solo player and one was a 4-man crew, which we only engaged with for about 10 seconds. We fired some cannonballs at each other, and then we went separate ways because it wasn't worth going after each other. And I remember I had this issue in the closed alpha as well. We barely ran into players, and one time we actually did manage to raid a ship and steal some of their treasure. But the problem was, when I killed 2 of their guys, for example, 2 more guys would come in and I have to fight them, and then by the time I killed them, the other 2 people would respawn and I would have to kill them again. So you barely have enough time to kill everyone and steal their treasure before they just respawn back in. I assumed, and of course this is partially my fault because I'm assuming, but I assumed that you could take over their ship and take their ship. And I figured you could possibly either take their ship as your own or even sell it for more gold. You just can't do that. Like, the ship that you're assigned to is the ship that you have permanently. So, from the closed alpha to the beta, PvP has barely changed. It's really almost non-existent. You can go hours without engaging in another single player. And that's real unfortunate, because I thought a lot of this game would involve, fighting other players, making alliances, and that's just not there at all. Now again, this is the closed beta. I have no idea if they're showing all of their content here. So, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. It certainly can change in, 2 or 3 weeks when the game comes out. I have no idea if they're showing the full game or not, so we'll have to see. The other issue I have to talk about is the game world. Now, when you look at the game world on the map, it looks incredibly large and it looks vast. It's like you have so many islands to explore, but once you actually set sail, it just feels incredibly small. Like you're going from island to island, and you think on the map it's like, wow, that's far away. But in reality, it's not far at all. In fact, if the wind's on your side, then you can get there in a very short time. But I'm afraid that this is the only game map that they have so far, and that in the full game, it's just this one map with, you know, only a handful of islands, and that can get really repetitive really fast, especially with how their quest system is set up. And now with the quest, you have two types of quests so far. You have the one which is they just give you the map with an X on it. You have to find the island and then dig up the treasure and return it to the outpost. But you also have the riddles, which are a bit more interesting. You have to decipher a riddle, which normally, you know, it leads you to landmarks on the island, and you have to do an action. Like I remember one, you have to find a rock with a skull on it, and you have to play a song in front of it, and it'll unlock the next clue. Now those were kind of engaging, those were kind of interesting. I didn't have any of those in the closed beta. I don't know why. They might unlock at later levels, but those were more interesting, and those give you a reason to explore the islands. But other than the riddles, there is actually no reason to explore the islands. You have three items that you're searching for. You're searching for cannonballs, you're searching for wood, and you're searching for bananas. Cannonballs, obviously, self-explanatory. Wood is to repair your ship, and bananas are to heal you. But again, the problem lies with its PvP. You have really no reason to hunt these items down, especially with how limited your inventory is. It's kind of a burden going back and forth between the ship and the island when you can only carry 10 cannonballs, 10 planks, 10 bananas. And it's just it's tedious work for stuff that you're barely going to use. I mean, other than the skeletons, which aren't a real challenge at all, you know, I barely found myself using the bananas to heal because, you know, I'm not engaging with other players. The only time I used cannonballs was almost never, and the wood planks, you know, are mostly essential because you're always crashing into things. You know, that's natural for a game like this. But it just seems to me like there is so little to actually do in the game, and that's a real shame because there's so much potential for an open world pirate game that it's insane. Like, I remember that Pirates of the Caribbean MMO game a long time ago. I remember that was so fun. I barely played it, but I thought it was so fun. It just seems like you can't do really anything in this game. You can either play by yourself or with a crew of 4. You can't have a crew of 6. You can't have a crew of 8. It really limits you with how much you can do. And so again, it's, you know, this is closed beta. I have no idea what it's going to be like on release. You know, it could be a completely different game on release. I can't imagine it being that much different in 3 weeks. But right now, it's just, if this was how the game was released right now, I cannot see myself paying $60 for it. I can't see myself paying $30 for it. Not even $20, honestly. It only gave me a few hours of satisfaction before I got bored. There's a leveling system. I got to level 5 or level 6, which unlocks like a new tier of quest. I really don't know. It's not really explained very well. Almost nothing is explained so far. There's no real tutorial or anything. You kind of just have to figure it out. But yeah, it just seems like I didn't feel an incentive to go beyond that level 5. I mean, maybe the riddles unlock later on, but other than that, you know, you play for 2 hours, you see all the content. And what I noticed from when I played the closed alpha a few months ago to now is barely any change. The only things that were added that I saw were, you know, cosmetic items. I mean, there was, you know, a spyglass was added. That's cool. But other than that, it's like, okay, there's a character creator, but it's not really a character creator at all. It just gives you a random character, and you can just keep generating random characters until you find one that you like. There's clothes customization, which is kind of cool. Cosmetic versions of different items. Now, they could be cosmetic, or they could have different qualities to them. I really don't know. It really wasn't explained, and I didn't really care enough to go forth and find out because there really was no reason to. Now, it's not all bad. There are a few good things. I know, you know, graphically the game is stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. The art style they went with is great. It's the right amount of cartoon, but it's the right amount of where it can still be incredibly beautiful. The water looks gorgeous. The skies and the night and the weather. It just all looks fantastic. The game both feels and runs great on my PC, and I'm using a GTX 980, and I'm getting well above 60 frames. I think I was getting consistently 90 frames. And finally, the crossplay is great. I'm a PC player, and the other 3 people in my crew were on Xbox. And that's really cool. It's something that's, you know, hasn't been seen in a long time, if ever, for some people. And it's, you know, it's a real good experience to be able to play with people that I would normally never play with in my life. And crossplay in general is just fantastic. It's bringing gamers together, people who would normally never play with each other. It's finally bringing us together to play together, and that really is truly wonderful. So I went a little longer than I wanted to, but to wrap things up, Sea of Thieves, it's a beautiful game. It's, you know, it's fun for a few hours to explore, but other than that, you know, it's just, unfortunately, I hate to say this because I was really looking forward to it. Right now, judging by the closed beta alone, I really can't recommend going out pre-ordering this game, spending the $60, because I'm not confident in what I played so far that they're going to add a significant amount more to the game. I feel like what they have in the game now in the closed beta is what we're going to get at the end, and it's just barely any content and mostly cosmetic items that you can buy with your gold. It's just a real shame because there's so much potential with this game, and unfortunately I feel like it's just not going to live up to its potential. They could have done so much with this, and right now, judging by the closed beta alone, it's certainly not representative of the full game. But judging by the closed beta alone, it's just the amount of content they have, not worth $60 at all. And you know, I certainly hope that I'm wrong. I really hope when the game comes out, it has a lot more content, has a lot more replay value, more incentive to fight other players. But right now, I can't recommend it. Thank you so very much for sticking around and watching my video. Let me know what you thought. Let me know if you've played the closed beta and whether you agree or disagree, and if I've missed any points. Again, thank you so much for watching.